men are collaborating with people who are trying to undermine male leadership, undermine the patriarchy, that we're basically committing assisted suicide, and we're all actually Jack Kevorkian. And I tie it to obviously with what Harbaugh is doing, what Adidas is doing, promoting men who become women and compete against women in sports, to Apple coming out with these male pregnant emojis. Am I making too much of what we as men are doing to undermine ourselves?
Not at all. And you may have to cut me off here because I have a few thoughts on this. So if we don't have time, you just tell me to shut up. But
no, we got plenty of time. Go ahead.
All right. I think we have been told and we have decided it's okay to skirt all responsibility. And when that happens, you largely cease to exist. Because if nobody relies on you for anything on a day-to-day, practical basis, why do you matter? Now, I get it. Look, you and I, Christian men, we believe that everyone was made in the image of God and that you are a deeply loved child of God. So you have value. But on a practical day-to-day basis, if you don't take on responsibility, you're going to have a seriously empty, aimless life, and that's not the life that God intended for us. And so I did a little bit of research before the show here on what did things look like in the 1960s. You were coming off middle of the civil rights movement. You were coming in not too far, a decade and a half removed from World War II, and you had men who actually had been through it. Many of these guys that were leading the social conversation and such actually fought in this war. And so what I was trying to figure out, what were those guys like compared to what we're doing right now? Because there's no way we are anything like them. So one thing I was trying to figure out, single family homes. Okay, you talked about mothers. And right now, we have the highest. We are abandoning our children at a record number, not just in America, but in the entire world. 2019, the Pew Research Center found that the United States has the highest rate of children living with a single parent in the entire world, 23%. China, you mentioned, going the other direction, taking care of their kids, building up men, 3%. So that number, by the way, 23%, has tripled since 1960. Back in 1960, still much higher than we want. We're abandoning our children at 3 times the rate that we were in 1960. This other part has been well documented. Our divorce rate is about 50%. You know, it's like the divorce rate has nearly doubled since 1960. Back when we said, hey, this is our family. Come hell or high water, I'm taking care of my family. So that was our instinct of providing. We're going to be here for our kids. You know, we talked about provide, protect, procreate. Procreating, we don't want to take on responsibility. We are, for the first time in our history, not at a fertility replacement level. We're at 1.64 children per woman. A replacement level is 2.1, which means for the first time in history, our population is going to be shrinking because we're not having enough kids to take the place of the people that are dying off. Meanwhile, to talk about with China, from 1980 to 2016 only allowed 1 kid. They have realized that's crazy, and they have since, this was just May of last year, raised that limit to 3. While we're having less kids than ever, they're trying to have more kids than ever. And obviously with the abortion thing, we're saying, no. We don't want the responsibility of abortion. We've killed 62 million of our own children since Roe v. Wade was passed. So it's like every time there's an opportunity to skirt responsibility, we do it. We don't protect our family like we used to. I mean, I'm just going through what we talked about back in January. There are several shortfalls. There was a poll that was conducted just a few days ago by Quinnipiac. It said, hey, Ukraine's being invaded right now. They're at their country. The people, their houses are being invaded. Would you stay and fight like they're doing, or would you flee the country? This is stunning to me. Only 55% of the people in this poll said they would stick around and fight. Further disheartening, Americans ages 18 to 34, my age group, the most physically capable, the people obviously that should be showing up and fighting, only 45% said they would remain. So the least likely to stay and fight are the youngest, most capable. Comparatively, the people that were born in the 60s and 70s, the 50 to 64 age group, 66% of them wanted to. So you have people that Like, forget any responsibility whatsoever. Now I'll just go live over here. Now I don't need to protect my family. And the last one, obviously, as you've brought up in your monologue, the most glaring example of our lack of responsibility in protecting our children is this transgender issue. We have men letting their 5-year-old boys, who you're supposed to be training up to be legitimate men in what is a cruel, harsh world, and you're telling them, hey, if you feel like a woman, it's all good, man. I'll get you some high heels, a dress, some lipstick. We'll get you some hormone treatment. You'll be a woman before you know it. And that is a transition that will give them a 40% chance of trying to commit suicide at some point in their life. And you're encouraging it. These are the young men of the future that we're confusing and telling them. Forget, men are cowards now. What are the men that we're training going to be like when they get up and they're expected to lead? There's all of this is a skirt of responsibility that men want no part of it. We've been told, hey, you failed, but it's all good. It's not your fault. And in the moment, that feels good. Oh, okay, it's not my fault. No big deal. Let's move on. You get told that enough, pretty soon you don't have any responsibility, and you're the most easily manipulated people in the world. If they can convince us that there is no difference between a man and a woman, what can't they convince us of?